here to discuss those internet stories most creepy and most pasta.
And most festive.
Yes, as you can tell by the jingle bells playing right now. What, can't you hear them? Anyway, tonight's episode, The Christmas Tree, by Michael Whitehouse. That's the author of this.
Okay, I didn't realize that dude had a name. They never have names.
I know, they usually don't, but like a couple of them that we've been finding, I've actually been able to find their authors, so...
Well, then.
For those of you just tuning in and somehow stumbled on this podcast, creepypasta are creepy short internet stories that have been copied and pasted across the internet. The name eventually got slanged to copy pasta, and then the creepy ones got turned into creepypasta. So there you go. So, yeah, it's Christmas. So we decided to do a Christmas themed one. The Christmas Tree. It starts pretty much just talking about how a guy is just, this guy is with a bottle of whiskey and just staring at his...
glass of whiskey.
Yeah, sorry, a glass of whiskey.
Not that bad.
Not yet. With a glass of whiskey, staring off at the Christmas tree, and reminiscing about the shittiest year he's had. Because, and then it goes into to explain that, like, last year, around Christmas, his wife, who is the love of his life, and occasionally takes walks out into the woods, and they're out in, like, Scotland area. They're in, like, Scotland, like, up in the Highlands. She takes out walks and stuff, and she just, every year she has a tradition where she goes out into the wilderness and finds a tree and brings it back. So, a year like any other, she goes out there, and a couple of hours pass, and then like 3 or 4 pass. So he starts getting nervous, tells his daughter to lock the door, and he goes out to go look for his wife. So he goes out into where the spot where she usually is this hill where the that has like just a nice big cropping of pine trees, and like all the townspeople like generally tend to go there for Christmas trees. So he figures she's going that way, and the footprints are showing that. So he goes out there, and he finds her footprints end at what looks like a perfect Christmas tree, but they just kind of end. Like there's no other spot where they go. And he looks in the Christmas tree, and it looks like there's notches in the trunk near the bottom where she was obviously putting her axe in, but there's nothing's to be found. And then he goes looking around, and he finds the axe half buried in the snow. It's definitely her axe, so he starts shouting for her name and stuff. Looks around in desperation, and then eventually finds her dead on the ground, and it seems that she had a massive heart attack. So, and he even recalls like going to the doctor, and the doctor can't explain, tells him that it's just a heart attack, but he can sense that there's just something about it that's just kind of weird.
It was the look on her face.
Yeah, like almost like a look of terror.
Because it was a look of pure terror.
Yeah, exactly. So then it proceeds to go through, I think, several paragraphs of just like showing like the father and the daughter trying to get through life after the mother's death, and eventually it rolls around back up to Christmas, and he's decided that, you know what, we've made it for a year, we're still strong, we're still going. I'm gonna make this the best Christmas for my daughter. I'm
gonna get the tree she picked out last year.
Exactly.
Well, that his dead wife picked out.
Yeah, and because like by God, that was her. It was pretty much her last act, and he's gonna fulfill it. So,
well, I mean, there's a lot to be said for last acts. Oh,
wow.
Sorry.
So, I mean, and like he's gotten everything for her, like for his daughter, like all the presents and stuff. He's letting her do like have a sleepover and stuff with her friends, and even bringing in his side and her side, his wife's side parents to see their grandchild, and have the greatest Christmas ever. At least he's hoping. So he then decides, to go grab the tree. So he goes out with the axe, hikes up to the hill, and by God, he cuts down that tree because it's the one that his wife chose last year. So then it comes down, and he starts bringing it back. He hauls it back, brings it back inside, and his daughter comes back home, and they start doing up the tree with all the decorations and stuff, and it's probably the first time in like a year that they've had like a truly happy moment. Like all the grief is kind of just buried and buffeted by the happiness. So, what could possibly go wrong, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a perfect idyllic moment. Yeah, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah. So, the daughter goes up to bed rather early because she had such a great day, and she's exhausted. And he's just sitting there at the tree, staring at it, and just kind of like living in the moment. And then, there's something wrong. And then he realizes what it is. There's two light bulbs on this. Two of the white Christmas tree light bulbs on the tree are flickering, but not like all the time, but just like in certain parts or certain at different intervals. And it's just really bugging him. It's like, no, this is not. I'm not going to let this ruin this Christmas. So he goes and investigates, and he's looking through, and he looks deeper and realizes those light bulbs aren't light bulbs; they're eyes within the tree. And then we encounter this like giant wooden thing with like pure white eyes, or I think at first they're white and then they realize they're yellow.
I thought they were always yellow. But...
Were they always yellow? Okay, yeah, sorry, yellow eyes.
Actually, I pictured orange, so
okay.
Don't ask me.
All right. Yellow eyes, and they're just staring, like glaring at him.
And they're pupilless, hence they could be mistaken for Christmas trees.
Yeah. And this thing comes out of the darkness of the from within the like branches and just starts approaching him, and he starts getting a heart attack. Or his heart is racing, and then he hears the palpitation, or what is that?
He starts having a heart attack.
Yeah, he starts having a heart attack, essentially, like while he's while this thing's just staring at him. And he's cemented to the ground or to the floor, so he can't run or anything like that. So he's cemented. He's just like he can't move. He won't, and he's having this heart attack. And he realizes he's going to die. Like, and this thing is just coming at him, and it's like described like a wooden, like stocky thing. And then he hears the words "Daddy," and his daughter is down at the stairs in her PJs, and this thing turns to her and starts going after her, and she's screaming, and she's essentially in the thrall of this thing's like glare, like he was. But it allows him to go crawling out to the kitchen, and just as this thing is like holding, like starting to like go for the daughter's face, he comes running out of the kitchen with the axe and stabs it, and just hacks at it from the back. And blood doesn't come out, but these like swarms of insects that he's never seen before start pouring out of the back of this thing, and it like doesn't scream normally. It's like a mix of like squeals and clicks, and it just kind of goes running out. It bashes through the door and just runs out into the night. So the daughter and father go to the hospital. They get a clean bill of health, no heart attack or anything like that, or no issues like that. But they never go back to that house, and he. For the rest of his life, it assumes he never goes out and gets a real tree. And he's like, and like that's the end. The end of the story is this message is like, I won't get a Christmas tree from the woods or anything like that. Well, actually, what is it? Okay, because you never know what's living inside when you bring it into your house or something like that. And then that's kind of where the story ends. It just kind of like ends on that note. Like it's like a cautionary tale. Like don't, not a cautionary tale, but it has that kind of feel to it, like that ending.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, it sets up that this thing exists, whether or not there's more of them.
Yeah.
Who knows? But that one's still out there.
Yeah. He never saw it again, and doesn't know if it's alive or dead.
Well, of course he never saw it again. He hasn't cut down any more trees.
Yeah. I liked the story. I thought. Like, there's about halfway through it, I was reading, and it was like, all right, where's you're building this up. Where's the payoff? Like, what's the creepy? Like, I was like kind of confused. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good story. Like,
of course you liked it.
Like, I liked I did like the build up. I just kind of like halfway through it, I was like, is this even going to end with something, or this got to end with something horrible? like some kind of like monster. Like I'm on creepypasta.wiki. There's got to be a reason why this is on creepypasta.wiki.
Yeah, and I mean, I loved the build-up.
Yeah.
It's not just, well done. It's well written. It takes its time. It doesn't...
It gets you to like these characters. It gets you to like the character.
Well, it shows you that they are characters. I mean, in the world of the story, they've been like, it tells you about their past year, So, yeah, it's not like you relived the year with them, but you did, you know about that year, so you actually have some concern as to whether or not things go well for them after such a horrible year. And then, just with all of that and their hopes for the future, most of the stories we read, the characters have no hopes for the future, at least not that we know of. Yeah. They have no struggles in the past, at least not that we know of. But this one spends the bulk of it just telling you, look, these are people, and there's nothing overly creepy about the story up until that point. I mean,
it's
there's
kind of,
some suspicion about the wife's death.
Yeah,
but
we don't.
There's
at
also
that point,
a
we don't
plausible
know.
explanation.
Yeah, like it was really weird circumstances, like the fact that her footprints just ended at the tree, and then she was found like a bunch of feet later or away. And it's just like they're suspicious. There's very like there's some kind of like uneasiness about or surrounding the death, but again, like the actual cause was something relatively explainable.
Yeah,
like there's no gashes or anything on her. It was just she died of a heart attack.
It's not like her head was here and her body was over there.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a mundane term in terms of like creepypastas. It was a mundane death and whatnot. But there was some suspiciousness about it. Like there were some things off about it.
Yeah,
but they wasn't like overpowering
enough to
kind
almost
of like
to remind you that yes, this is creepypasta. You know, and then when things when it does hit that crescendo of like something's happening at this exact moment, it happens relatively quickly. The detailed description is still there, but it's almost. There's just less to describe. He doesn't tell you everything about the creature. He does, but
he also goes in like he mentions it early in the story and at the end, like how the tree, like when he tries to look into the tree, it's very hard to like see certain things of it. Like it's almost like it's too dark, and like so it's almost like shadowing like that there was something in that. There's something off about this tree, even though it's perfect.
Oh God, that was. I knew it was coming before the wife was dead.
Yeah.
The whole, it was, too dark to see. I just knew. I didn't know any specifics, obviously, but I was like, there's something in the tree, or it's the tree itself.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, the tree.
And when he had cut it down and dragged it home, I was like, okay, so it's something in the tree.
Yeah. Because at one point I was expecting like the tree to become like the monster itself.
Well, exactly, especially with the title. I wouldn't have been surprised if the tree had been like ah.
Yeah, exactly.
I was happy that it wasn't that. We were actually
the monster we got was actually really cool. Like very like especially the way they described it. Like it kind of reminded me of like a marionette. Mixed in with like maybe the Signs monster or the Signs aliens, but
I don't know. It's serviceable. It's something that I could see being mistaken as part of the tree.
Yeah, well, because he goes into detail, like it's made of wood and it's got like moss growing on it and stuff.
Yeah. That being said, I also can't really see anyone bringing home something from a pine tree or something in a pine tree, but.
And not realizing, unless it is some kind of like supernatural thing that is, but it kind of like it more or less tells you that like it was living on the tree, not in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if what we're seeing in the darkness, if what that darkness is actually just its body.
Yeah. So I was just kind of a little. That could have irked me if I hadn't have been enjoying the ride so much.
Yeah.
Honestly, I could go into like teeny tiny nitpicks, but there's really no point because I was just enjoying myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I mean, that slow burn, it didn't annoy me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is...
Not like,
it's not the longest story we've read,
No.
but it's on the longer end. It's definitely not with the short guys.
Yeah.
And it was all necessary.
Yeah, there's no filler part for it, because it was establishing the characters.
Exactly.
And their
was
year.
making you give a rat's ass.
Yes, like why he wanted to, like, it explained more why, it gave you motivation for why he wanted to go out and get a pine tree again, like get the Christmas tree and all that. Like, he wanted to make this the best Christmas for his daughter, and they've been through so much, and we got to see how much, like, they show us how much strife they were through.
Exactly, and like it was just it was good so that, when the thing turned towards, the guy's daughter, you were immediately like, oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Like, nope, that's not how we're going to roll here.
And when you read the next part where he's like, it didn't notice him crawling to the kitchen, it's like, yeah.
Exactly.
Like you were rooting for the family. Unlike some creepypastas where you're just like, monster, just kill them.
Yeah. It was like, and then, when he leaps over the couch and, with the axe, and I'm thinking like, how big is your living room?
Well, pretty big.
But again, I didn't care. I was like, you know what? I've seen big living rooms.
Yeah. I did actually, part of me, it didn't really stop me reading the story, but afterward, I did actually go and check out, see about Scotland not having predators, like animals and stuff like that, because he mentions it when it's like, well, it couldn't have been like a wolf or a bear or anything. Like, Scotland hasn't had bears or wolves for centuries. And it's like, really? And so actually, Wikipedia, yeah, there are no wild predators except for wildcats in Scotland.
Yeah, dude. Even in the United States, they basically killed all the wolves.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a thing that once upon a time people thought was a smart thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't want to go all Greenpeace here or PETA, because,
God knows.
But, wasn't exactly forward-thinking of them.
Yeah.
But anywho, back to this.
To this.
I actually totally believe that, because that was, like, I just assumed that was the case. Because, A, the story's a little too well written to have a big old mistake like that.
Yeah.
And secondly, I mean, that's old world, like, that's
not new. Yeah, like old world. Yeah, they've had centuries to eradicate their competition.
They were like, well, wolves eat meat, and we like to eat meat, so let's kill all the wolves so we can have all the meat. And they didn't. Back when they would have been thinking like that, they didn't have the forethought of,
maybe we should preserve.
Maybe we shouldn't kill every single one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just. I also just enjoyed the change of pace of being in Scotland for a week, Like...
Yeah, like, I was like, oh, cool, like, this is, alright.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. I mean, Scotland's one of those countries that I've just always loved everything about, so... Yeah. I mean...
And it's like, I didn't actually, like, I mean...
It really could have taken place anywhere, but the fact that it didn't...
Gave you a little bit more, like, gave you some variety.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a good story. I mean,
it's a strong read.
Yeah,
honestly, the whole horror aspect at the bottom could have probably been left out, and this would have been a really good story.
Well, yeah, but then it wouldn't have been a creepypasta.
It wouldn't have been a creepypasta,
and we never would have.
No, I know, yeah, exactly.
No, I honestly think that this is. I mean, honestly, I didn't care for the monster. I just didn't. It wasn't a big sell for me. I actually thought that really the whole, like, when the shit hit the fan, I just found it rather, I don't know, it didn't do anything for me. I mean, like, there was nothing special about the end, like, when it got creepy, there was nothing special in there for me.
Yeah, like...
It was really just very bland and kind of generic. But what made it work, like, what made me, what makes me like this has nothing to do with the end, or
no,
nothing
it's the
to do
whole
with the build-up.
It's the journey.
it was the fact that this is one of those rare creepypastas that elevates and, just brings up the whole genre or, like, subculture of the creepypasta. It's like, okay, this is it. This is, I don't know if this is the pinnacle, but this has got to be damn near close compared to what I've seen.
Yeah.
And, like, I mean,
it does.
We don't get these very often.
No, and this actually is.
I'd like to point out, this is kind of like a Christmas gift for me.
You're welcome.
So, Merry Christmas, Dr. Leviathan.
Yeah.
But because this past, well, not year, but this past few months, I have suffered some horrible.
We have been just
stuff.
digging into that pile of shit, barely, often finding some gold. But most of the time, just finding shit.
And this one definitely just kind of made it all worth it. So I'm going to pour myself a whiskey and just sit back and enjoy it. Hopefully I don't die horribly.
And that's when you notice that there's two blinking parts on the
what?
I'm
not really looking at anything. I'm just enjoying the pasta.
The giant spaghetti monster. No, anyways, silly.
But yeah, it was like I said, like it was well written. The fact that someone finally bothered to write a longer one and actually filled it with build up that worked.
Yeah.
Build up that if you took any one part of it out, there would be a hole, not just a shorter story.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's just a fun read.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, this could have been any family, anywhere, and I don't know, there was just, I don't know.
There's a good quality to it.
Yeah, I read it, you get this nice build-up, you like these people, something bad happens to them, and you're like, oh no you didn't.
And then they triumph, but it's not it's not exactly a happy ending. I mean, they got away, but
they win the battle.
They did,
and then they choose to not fight the war anymore.
Exactly,
and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
They're like, all right, point taken. No traditions. It's like that's one tradition we're just going to leave in the past.
Yeah. And yeah, it was fun, and like I say, it was a fun read. And yeah, an early Christmas present for me.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm going to give it I recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, me too. Definitely.
Like, solid story. Good. I mean, fairly good monster when it finally shows up. The build-up is definitely more, but the build-up and, like, getting to know these characters and stuff is definitely the best part of the story.
Yeah, and the details are so perfect. Because, I mean, like, even when the dad goes away to, into the kitchen to get the axe.
Yeah.
There's actually lines in the story saying how he's able to do that because its vision is so focused.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so because it's not looking at the dad anymore, he's going to go save the fucking day.
Because he's no longer...
And then he comes and saves the fucking day. I mean, it like, I had that, like, millisecond of precognition where I was like, oh, okay, I know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
But it didn't ruin it.
Because you wanted to see how it played out.
I was like, okay, that's why he's able to walk away. Because, a lot of things like this, it would be, like, Jesus Christ, the guy's almost dead from a heart attack. How did he recover from that? It's like, oh, okay, well, this monster gives you a heart attack. I mean, don't get me wrong, as far as monster powers
That's
go,
pretty effective. It's a streamlined, effective predator.
It's just weird. And it's not weird. It's probably super awesome.
It's a very useful defense mechanism.
Exactly.
This true.
I mean, it's in the realm of
creepypasta monsters,
horror story monsters. It's abnormal. It's a departure from what you normally get.
Yeah. It's mundane yet very effective in for it.
Well, exactly. I mean, it wouldn't allow it to take down a crowd because, I mean, two people leave it kind of, screwed.
Yeah.
But
it's good. Like I said, like it actually makes sense for the creature because the creature's a tree dwells in that tree. So anybody tries to cut down that tree, no heart attack.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, it killed the wife, in the previous year in the story.
Yeah,
but it didn't eat her. So
no, it just wanted to be left alone.
It's clearly not like it doesn't seem like a predator.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like a carnivore anyway.
It also mentions that it's he realized it was nocturnal.
Well, yeah, that's why he was able to drag it home in a tree all day.
Yeah, and then why he just finally noticed the eyes now.
Yeah,
because it darkness. Yeah,
but that one was.
I'm still trying to figure out what was with like the wife, like being like so far away from the tree without having any tracks to her. Like I don't, like did it grab her and like throw her away or something like that, or like that's the only thing that I can think of.
Genuinely don't know.
Yeah,
that's actually one of the things that I like about it is that you don't learn enough about the monster to answer these questions.
Exactly, and I like that. But
with the wife's death, you've got a lot of answers. You don't have a lot of answers. You have a lot of questions and not very many answers. But I finished the story, and again, I wasn't pissed. Like, normally this would be a critique of mine where I'd be like, well, why don't I know? But I finished this story, and I think this is where my comment earlier of, you don't learn a lot about the monster. I mean, it doesn't answer the questions. Why? Because, well, you didn't, the monster really didn't kill the dad and the daughter, so you don't get to find out what it does with them. Does it throw them across the room? Or whatever the hell happened.
Yeah.
Because
it did also mention that the axe was had fallen, was in the ground, like it had been dropped from a high thing. That's why I was thinking it's like, did the wife just get whisked away at the beginning? Like that's what I thought. It was like, was it just like she was like chopping down the tree and then something like whisked her off?
Yeah, that was actually where I was going too.
But that's not what we got for the monster. So it's just like, huh.
Yeah,
there's questions, but I mean they don't necessarily need to be answered because of the way the story came out.
Exactly. I mean, you get all of the answers questioned that you really, through reading the story, really feel need to be answered. Like, I know what killed the wife, and I know that it's still out there, and I know that I'm not in Scotland, so I don't care about my Christmas tree.
It's like we don't have to worry about tree mongers.
But you know what I mean? Like it was.
Yeah.
The questions I needed answered, like, do these people get a happy ending that they kind of deserve?
They kind of do, but at the same time,
maybe you know. I mean, they got something else to get over now, but.
And he got a little bit of revenge for his wife's death.
Well, and he got some answers, and he got some closure. I mean, maybe not closure, but...
He wanted.
Yeah, he found out... He found things out, and maybe he's wishing he didn't.
Yeah. As with a lot of horror stories.
But yeah, I don't know. It was just a fantastic read. Anyone who knows about this and doesn't read it is doing themselves a severe disservice.
And especially when you can go to creepypasta.wiki and check it out. Also, I listened to it on Mr. Creepypastas because he did it last year for Christmas, and he did a fantastic job reading it, including sound effects for the axe going into the tree. Had low Christmas ambience going in the background. It was fantastic. It was a fantastic reading. This was a good story.
Yeah, I
this is like if you want a creepypasta for Christmas, read The Christmas Tree.
Yeah, definitely. Just, I mean, I don't want to say it's a perfect story or anything because I mean it's not. There's never a perfect story. But this is probably the best damn creepypasta I've read, because, I've read so many by now. I guess I have read
25.
I've read more than that, though.
Oh, you've been reading more? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is hands down the best one, just the most well-done one I've ever read. And, yeah, I don't see this being topped in the near future.
Well, we'll have to see.
Well, I mean... you know.
Who knows what the new year will bring?
Don't you?
It's like, don't you dare. But yeah, like I said, you can check it out at creepypasta.wiki, and Mr.Creepypasta's video is on his channel. It's really good. Anything else you'd like to add?
Just Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Well, just, you know, a general wishing of the past year was good for you, and I hope that the next year is better.
All right. So, with that said, you can send us well wishes to on Twitter.
Or hate mail.
Yeah, or hate mail to our Twitters, Review Cultist and at dr.leviathan. You can also send us leave us a comment in the comment section below wherever this gets posted, or leave us a review on iTunes. That'd be awesome. And, of course, you can send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas. Trey, if you have one that might be as good or on par with this one, please send it to us. We'd like to check it out. And until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
And I'm Dr. Leviathan.
Wishing you a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday, and of course, sleep well.